Welcome to the Bitcoin Business Podcast put on by Sovereign. I'm your host, Brandon Karpolis, and today I have with me another wonderful business owner in the Bitcoin space or a Bitcoiner running a business. And with me is Michael Diederich. So, welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
Can't
Thanks,
talk
Brandon.
apparently.
All good.
Yeah, yeah. These
Yeah.
late night podcasts got me. Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about Snorkel, what you're doing there? I found you on Nostr. There's a great community of people on Nostr, business owners that are Bitcoiners, and you were in a little different position in that a lot of the people on Nostr are merchants actively selling their wares for Bitcoin. However, you are a Bitcoiner who took on a fiat business and are in the process of converting it over. So why don't you talk us through a little bit of your backstory, how you got into Bitcoin, and then ultimately why you made the decision to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah. I guess the original seed of like why I love Bitcoin probably started with Ron Paul. He got me into sound money before I was into Bitcoin, just listening to his campaign. And then I would say 2020 and COVID, like many Bitcoiners, that was like the turn of the key that sent me down a path of being like I guess curious about Bitcoin to owning Bitcoin to and really like the first transaction I made peer to peer on chain was like just exciting. I had heard of Bitcoin before, and like many people, kind of thought it was a scam. But it was an ignorant position at the time. And it took 2020 and then me actually owning it to really kind of like unlock my understanding about it. And the more I dug in, the more kind of like terra firma I found to that it stood on. I also briefly owned some Ethereum, but then as I kind of like got into Bitcoin and the Bitcoin community, Pierre Richard was basically just pounding on Ethereum about how unaccountable it is and unauditable, and you don't really know what the supply is. And then obviously they flipped to from proof of work to proof of stake, which kind of like uh, disproved decentralization. Um, that kind of like, I guess 2020 was the beginning of it. And then I kind of just had a corporate job, fiat mining, they call it, in terms of just had a corporate career. I worked at Procter and Gamble before early in my career and most of my career at Microsoft, and was kind of just bummed out about corporate life and feeling like just part of this machine. The Neo kind of like feeling from the Matrix, or Office Space, like that's kind of the feeling I had every day. But it got a little bit more exciting when Microsoft let me kind of like manage my own retirement. So in the depths of the market in 2022, I basically flipped my entire retirement into Bitcoin ETFs and MicroStrategy. And that kind of like, obviously did very well. And that basically became the funds for Snorkel. Um, I literally would not have probably had the funds or the confidence to take the leap. But I was still not happy at Microsoft, and really kind of was just looking for something else. But I just didn't want to and I didn't want to just go to Google or go to, just a different tech company. I wanted something that felt more real and more alive, and just was searching for small business classifieds, and found an agent that was talking about a different business, and he ended up being the agent for Snorkel, and he was like, "I think you should really think about Snorkel." Basically, from I guess over a month, I went from basically telling my wife that I think I'm interested in this to quitting and jumping in. And like I said, the retirement account really funded the acquisition. Yeah, March 14th, 2024. I couldn't tell you what block it was yet. I could look it up, but that's kind of like, jumped in, and it was kind of like I was interested in kind of like making it a Bitcoin business to begin with. Like I'm like full into Bitcoin, have gotten my family into Bitcoin, have gotten my friends into Bitcoin. Some of them don't listen to me, but they'll eventually come to terms, as we all know. And George McHale, I was telling him about it because I know him just from Facebook, and he was like, "You should bring your tub to Vegas." And so took my tub to Vegas, and I've just been, I would say, trying to slowly transform the company into a Bitcoin company. But when you have kind of a 1979 company, like everything that operates at Snorkel is like basically from the 90s, and so like I'm like so far back in terms of the tech stack, and the website, and like there's just some core updates that I have to do, and so I did take my first Bitcoin payment the other day, so I'm excited for more of that. But yeah, it's an interesting challenge to kind of take a company that has like a legacy. Like we have customers that have owned their tubs for 30 years. They'll come back and buy a new one. If they move, they buy a new, they give us a call and make sure the house has a Snorkel tub. So there's a ton of like brand love and brand loyalty, and so I'm basically trying to um, modernize and update the company, and then making it Bitcoin relevant, and then transform it without kind of like losing the kind of like the brand equity that it has.
So I don't think that's fantastic, by the way, but I don't think we specifically said. I know you mentioned tubs, but it's actually hot tubs and a certain type of hot
Sorry.
tub. And so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
why don't you
My
talk
bad.
about
Yeah, yeah.
your product line as well? So
Yeah, so Snorkel Hot Tubs, thank you for kind of like course correcting on that. The reason we're
no,
called
not a course
Snorkel.
correction at all. You're fired up about it. I love it.
Yeah, the Snorkel is Snorkel Hot Tubs, and they've been around since 1979. They're like the kind of the inventors of a wood-fired hot tub. And so the reason we're called Snorkel is because the wood fire actually goes under the water, and the air gets sucked under the water into the wood fire that you build, and you heat the tub without any electricity necessary. So it's like, you know, a great solution for people off grid or low power situations, or just they don't want to trench electricity, they don't have panel space. Like you can basically be hot tubbing on zero to low utilities. And so in sometime in the 80s they started building cedar tubs, because originally it was just the stove. And then in early 2000s they got powered tubs. So now we basically sell from a wood fired hot tub to electric to gas and propane to, like I said, the future I think is going to be for me to offer Bitcoin heated hot tubs as well. And basically, from caveman heat to modern uh, Bitcoin heat, like we're going to cover the full spectrum, all in cedar tubs. So the wood behind me is the tub bottom that's clamped up right now. So yeah,
Awesome. And I mean, listen, they're already doing hot tub heating with miners, and I had Tyler Stevens on here from Exergy.
yeah,
He's building all sorts of HVAC systems and everything. So it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when and how,
yep.
and I'm sure that'll be pretty sweet to plug the Bitcoin miners in and actually be getting some sats as you're taking a nice soak. So I'm curious
Exactly.
on on the wood fire side. So you said it pulls the hot air in. So exactly, because obviously the first thing that comes to mind is like, okay, what if I overheat this thing? What if I get too many logs in there, or the coals get too hot, and then all of a sudden I'm in way too hot of water? So how is that kind of like regulated, and can you change the heat and it sort of changes the airflow, or how does that work?
Yeah, this I'll just tell a funny story because our tub has been featured on the like several times, and they love our wood fired hot tub. And so I was basically brought a hot tub to Colorado for an episode that will be airing sometime in the next couple months. And the was like, "Hey, can you make it 105?" Uh, I'm like, "I'll try." But the physics of fire building are variable. So The high elevation in Colorado, the wood will burn cooler. The type of wood that you burn, if you burn hardwood, it's going to burn hotter. If You have to basically, it's uneven heat. So we give up basically a paddle, a canoe paddle with every hot tub. And you basically are stirring it as it's heating. And if you could get in it, you could kind of feel it and know if want to, hotter or colder, because you can take the temperature. And of course, we give people a thermometer, but you don't know the gradient without kind of like getting in it. So it can be really cold at the bottom and really hot at the top. And so you want to paddle it and stir it. And anyway, I they moved up the filming of the hot tub scene by whatever half an hour, and so my like heat trajectory was then off. Uh, so it was probably more like 115, and I was like
Gosh.
panicking because I'm like, that's too hot.
Yeah.
That's gonna burn somebody.
Someone's gonna have a heart attack. Yeah.
So I'm like paddling it, and it's like 25 degrees out in the Colorado mountains. So I'm like, I have like cooling capacity at hand, which was nice. But I just couldn't, like, you can turn off the fire, but it'll keep burning heat. So you turn off the fire, you basically close the intake and close the damper, which is the outtake, and that basically turns off the fire, but it's kind of a slow turn off. Anyway, the filming time came, and it was still a little bit too hot, and so I had prearranged for some ice to dump into the tub. But then I'm like, how much ice do I add? Like, what's the math equation that tells me how much ice? Because I'm like, if I over ice it, then it's gonna basically be cold, and then it's gonna be really bad. So, yeah, it was a bit of an exciting moment. I'll let the rest of it play out on TV, but it's kind of like born out of experience on getting that right. So, and what your temperature. Some people like 108-degree heat hot tub, and you can't get that
That's
with a regular hot tub. You can only do that with wood fired because the regulations max out at 104. And so if you want a superheated hot tub, like wood fired is definitely the way to go. You just have to be careful with it.
Man, that's cool. I'm a big barbecuer, big into smoking, and so many of my friends they get the pellet smokers or they get the electric ones, and I always make fun of them because, and they make fun of me just as much back, that I'm the caveman, the archaic way of smoking that I actually use the charcoal and the wood and have to control the temperature myself. But I like it. I like the part where I'm the one in control
Yep, yep,
of the heat and I'm in charge of getting it to the right temperature that I want, maintaining it. And so I could see like a similar um analysis for the hot tub, that there is some sort of rewarding action to
yep.
being the one that's kind of setting the temperature and making it happen.
Yeah, no, totally is, and that's totally how people talk about it. That's exactly how people talk about it. And it's not like active time, right? So you don't have to like watch over it like you would food, or like not necessarily just general food, but like if you're cooking an item on the stovetop, you don't want to overcook it, and you kind of have to like watch it a little bit. This is like a slow cook. This is more like a slow cooker. So you can essentially walk away and come back 2 hours later and kind of check the temperature, paddle it up, decide if you want to add more heat, add more wood to add more heat or not. So you can walk away and come back to it multiple times, and then you kind of just want to have a vision for when you want to get in, so that you're at the right temperature. The if and basically we call it a snorkel stove and a scuba stove. If you had like our typical hot tub with a snorkel stove, it'll basically rise at like 40 degrees Fahrenheit per hour. So it's a relatively quick
Yeah,
temperature
that's not
escalation,
messing around.
and then if you hot tub the next morning, you might only need a 30-minute fire.
Wow. So how, like, just generally speaking, sort of four, I would say, like quarter logs that you would throw onto sort of your typical bond after you've got the kindling going, you've got your intermediate. Now you're like, okay, we want a fire for the evening to sit out. Like, how many of those logs, say like four of those logs, how long would it last you?
Sorry, what kind of log?
So like, when you're okay, you're so to start a fire, you got like your kindling, then you
Yeah.
got kind of your intermediate, your sticks you picked off the ground, and then at the end you got those logs, those sort of like quarter logs that you
Oh,
throw on. Maybe you
yeah.
form like a cabin out of them, and like that size. Like how many of
I,
those would it
I
take,
mean,
and then how long would that last you?
I would say like 2 bundles of firewood is like enough to heat it.
Okay.
Again, it like just depends on the starting temperature of the water, which is typically like when the last time you hot tub. A lot of people put these in like cabins in the woods, and then your first day you kind of like clean it out, refill it, and then heat it and hot tub, and then the next morning you can be heated in like half an hour. So if you're just doing a little bit of like heat, it doesn't cool down that fast. So the heating process is much faster. So you don't um I guess to answer your question is like the big load of wood is to get it up to temperature, and then to maintain the temperature or even just to reheat it if it's within 12 hours is not that bad. So it might be if it's at 105 when you're done hot tubbing, or it might be at 90 or 85 in the next morning.
Do you have models that do combo? Like you could choose to do the wood or the electric, or it's one or the other?
Yeah, we have a lot of customers that do that. One
Okay,
customer
nice.
basically had a bunch of land and he had his own private hydroelectric dam. And so he wanted the electric for the summer and the wood fired for the winter. Because obviously with water, the water flows a lot lower in the winter, so he wants to heat the house with the power in the winter, or just use it for other reasons. But in the summer, when the water is flowing high, he basically wanted to use it as a heat sink for and for the dam and the electricity, so that it doesn't kind of like go to waste. And so that was a combo package. It's all kind of wood, so you can kind of just plumb it however you want it. And then you have to decide kind of like how big of a tub you want, which is usually partially utility conversation, partially how much space you have on your property, and then how many people you want to host.
So did you learn just all of this getting into this business? Did you have any idea about
I
any
had
of this
no
stuff
idea about hot
beforehand?
tubs in
None?
January of
Yeah.
2025. Like I've
Wow.
learned it's been a hot tub boot camp, basically every day. Uh, so it's like now I feel like I could probably have 90% of the hot tub conversations, and then the other employees that have been around longer, like the you know, they'll be able to troubleshoot or talk to customers about specialty considerations. Like one customer today wanted 8 jets and they wanted them all the way around. So then we had to do a pump sizing. We had to upsize his pump, and we had to talk about kind of like the plumbing to get the jets all the way around the tub and where they would be and what else he needed. So they tend to be, these are very custom kind of like pieces. So, and it's wood, so we can make it custom, but people have to go through a process of making a bunch of decisions. It's not like you're buying a hot tub at Costco. You're making, some design decisions on making the perfect tub for you.
And so how does the wood get treated? I would be worried about getting splinters, but obviously you figured this problem out if the company's been around since 1979.
Yeah. So it's all Western red cedar, which is, I would say, very resilient to rot. The the water, basically you keep a tub wet, is the real answer. So if you keep a tub wet, then the wood stays swollen, I guess, and it's basically full of moisture. And obviously we've sanded it down to a smoothness that basically eliminates any kind of burrs on the wood. And then once it's wet, it just kind of like exists as wet. There's like logging expeditions out there where they recover trees that are like they've been underwater for decades, and that wood is just fine. It's not rotted. You can actually like extract that log, let it dry out, and then process it as if it was new. So wet wood is actually, um, you know, uh, good wood. It's not degraded, so we don't end up with splinters. One thing we don't do, and customers are supposed to do, which is sand the top of the staves to a smoothness. Some people forget to do that, and then they end up with more kind of like problems because it's not a smooth surface. But that's kind of the only thing I can think of from a splinter standpoint. Um, in terms of like, but it's cured by sanding.
Watch The Curse of Oak Island. I see how that wood lasts over decades and centuries buried under the water. So,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
So
um,
and then the oh, I was gonna say something else about I guess the it'll come to me later.
all good, all good. So, how did you how did you make the decision that this was going to be a business you were going to look at? Was you I'm assuming you looked at the financials, you thought you could do something with it, and then how did you sort of did you mold that to the vision of I want this to be a Bitcoin company in terms of accepting Bitcoin payments, putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet, using Bitcoin to sort of preserve the long-term viability of this company? Like how did you go into all of this thinking? And then ultimately, how did you well, I guess maybe a Noster story too, as well. How did you get to Noster? Why did you think that would be a good venue to attract people? And so, yeah, maybe take us through your thought process on both of those steps.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the jump from Microsoft to Snorkel was more like I guess emotional than financial because I was just miserable. So I was just like, why am I here? What am I doing? I have like at least 20, 25 more years of work to do in my career and I just can't do it here. I got to do something else. And
I had the
so
same crisis, so I totally understand.
So it just wasn't even like a real nuts and bolts financial decision of like ROI. It was like, can I afford it? Is it cash flow positive? Um, does you know does it seem like a good viable company? So I didn't know anything about hot tubs, so I had no idea of the reputation. Um, but turned out it was like really good. There's like just a ton of customer love. And like referrals and friends, have hot, like, so all that stuff I didn't really know ahead of time, but I did due diligence. I basically had a month to do due diligence before I really kind of like got fully committed, even though I was already no longer at Microsoft. So I was kind of partially committed. And I just had some, I guess, different friends like look at the financials and look at kind of things. And then I think what made me most, I guess, bullish to use the Bitcoin term about it would be how mismarketed it was, in my opinion. Like they had very little social media presence. Um, like I think they had 5 posts on Instagram since 2019 when I bought it. Um, and the website is like I kind of like equate it to, and it's still there. So like it, and it's fine. Like you can go on it and figure out your way, but I kind of like it's not really inspiring. And so we're in a web design reframe right now to make it a more aspirational experience where you can kind of like see kind of like the cool locations and design features that people have had and kind of make your own choice and kind of be more inspired through the process of shopping. And so I really felt like if I could fix the marketing and fix the website, like this company would grow. Like, and if it was cash flow positive to begin with and it grew, then it should be positive. So, and
Well,
then go ahead.
I was just going to say the website, if you go to snorkel.com, the website looks beautiful. It's a new one. You sent me a picture of the old one.
That's
So,
the new yes,
eh,
the 2023 website. If you go to the Wayback Machine, you'll see something that's will shock your eyes.
how do
Uh,
you how wait, how do you get there though? You sent me a screenshot, but
oh, the
how do you get
Wayback
to the
Machine.
actual
It's like an Internet Archive.
Oh, it is on the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If you go back to
Oh, that's how you
2020,
gotta do it.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay, yeah. I gotcha.
it will
Yeah.
shock your
That's the
senses
only way
though.
to do Okay, okay. Yeah,
And
it's,
I didn't even discover that until like actually I was in it, and then I was like, I wonder what Snorkel.com looked like. And the owner like is a sweetheart of a guy, but man, he's 83. Like he's he was ready to be done with Snorkel probably 10 years ago. And so that he did a big lift to make the current website what it is, which like I said, it's good. It's just not great.
it is good. I like it. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be even more beautiful coming up when that launches, hopefully next month. So, and then, but I really felt like, I guess, to your question on, why do it? Like I really felt like this is a beautiful aesthetic product that I feel like is undermarketed, and underserved from a marketing perspective. And if I can kind of like create um, more new marketing opportunities and create a website experience that kind of like more evokes the aesthetic that you get in a snorkel hot tub. When you see a snorkel hot tub, we actually have a bunch of Airbnb customers that like they use our snorkel tubs to differentiate their Airbnb visually in the marketplace, so to speak. Um, and if I can basically address some of the shortcomings, it should basically grow from a hot tub perspective. And then the other thing is like I think snorkel could do more than just hot tubs. There's cold plunges. We can do cold plunges that are cedar barrels. I'd love to be, saunas and cedar kind of like go together hand in hand. So I'd like to be doing sauna. I'd like to be doing outdoor showers. We're building the outdoor shower, uh, designing that product now, so that should be available soon. And then, like I said, a Bitcoin. So I feel like I'm just getting started in terms of like new products and new marketing opportunities. So yeah,
It certainly sounds that way. I if you go to the website, it's snorkel.com, and I mean, looking at that, well, one, I want to take a vacation slash buy a house somewhere in the woods, and then two, I definitely want to buy a hot tub to go in that location. They are beautiful.
yeah. I mean, it's a really fun product. Like people have like like I guess I went from selling Microsoft software, which, some people, love, but I would say generally not a whole lot of love to selling a product that like people gush about. Like I had a customer come into the showroom and they'd been planning their snorkel purchase for literally a decade. And then they came into the showroom
Wow,
and bought, and it was like I'd married them. Like they were so excited. It was like such a big day for them. It was like a wedding day. That's how it felt for them. And they had their kids with them and they were so excited. And they just went home like super happy, like a dream fulfilled. And that was like, so fun to like be in that type of business.
awesome. So, do you guys do the install? Is it self install?
Yeah, most of it's self-install. We're based in Seattle, so we'll do some stuff here locally. And then in certain regions, we have kind of like some degree of partnerships with people that would do the install. But I would say 95% of our customers build it themselves. We have kind of tutorials on how to build it. Um, I was on a TV show that was the episode aired, and we built the tub for that TV show called Fixer to Fabulous. And it's like you can, for a wood fired, you can basically be done in, 2 days, really a day and a half. If you're doing electrical or gas, it's more involved because utilities are involved, and for most people, you got to get an electrician or a plumber involved and those type of things. So, but for a wood fired, it's like most people were able to knock it out themselves.
The hose, get the firewood, you're good to go.
Yeah, basically, that's our marketing slogan: wood, water, and a match. That's all you need.
Yeah, perfect. That's fantastic. So, yeah, how did you find Noster? How'd you end up there? Did you get connected into sort of the merchant community in Noster? Did you find it on your own? Did someone tell you about it?
Yeah,
What was that journey?
I mean, I heard about it. I feel like, I feel like I'm late to the party. I know I'm not, but like that's the feeling. Because I heard about
So
it in
early.
like last, I guess I don't know, over 12 months ago. Um, and I just didn't deal with it. I was like doing snorkel and all this kind of thing. And then I heard about it again in Vegas at the Bitcoin conference, and I just didn't do anything about it. And then I started doing these Bitcoin walks on Saturdays, and I'm a terrible attendee. So if the Bitcoiner Bellevue community hears this, it'll be like he never shows up, which is true. But I met a guy named Kyle Huber, who you may or may not know. He does Bitcoin content, and he was like, "You dude, you really need to get on Noster." And so I don't know. One night my wife was out of town, and I was like, "All right, let's just get on Noster." And um, downloaded Primal, set up an account, not under my name but under the Snorkel name because that's kind of like what I wanted to do it with, and just started posting like some content. And I'm not even a good content poster, but it's like people like totally engage. Like the signal to noise ratio is just off the charts. Like if you put good content out there and engage and um just kind of like respond. It's just kind of a fun place to be. So, and I feel like Twitter, I've heard this said, this isn't my line, but like, you know, basically Bitcoin Twitter left Twitter and went over to Nostr. And that's totally the feeling I had. Like, I didn't even realize what had happened to Twitter until I went to Nostr. And, basically started posting. And like I said, I haven't posted that much, but, it's like 275 followers and, people that are kind of engaging. I met you on there. I met a bunch of other kind of like Bitcoin oriented brands. I met the Bullish Bitcoiner. I don't
Bullish
know
is the man.
I don't know his name, but he basically created an e-commerce store for taking
Yeah.
sats. So I set up
Yep.
a little mini site store where I'm taking reservations for a Bitcoin heated hot tub. So 21 sats. So that's takemysats.com. I think it's slash snorkel. So, but that was all like I got exposed to that completely on Nostr. So like I said, I feel like, the whole Bitcoin party moved to Nostr and I just didn't even realize it until I joined it. And it's been uh, like really fun to just kind of like see content and post content and follow people. And yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, the other thing about Nostr is people are really genuinely interested in people producing things, making things, and yes, it's sort of the core of it is a lot of um, it's a lot of coding and a lot of software makers, open source software contributors, that sort of thing. But there's also this awesome community of people like us at Sovereign. We get a great welcome on Nostr when we're putting out stuff about what we're doing. That people at our company basically left their jobs just like you and just said we feel soulless, we feel defeated, we want to go do something of value, we want to bring something productive to the world, and we're going to spend our time doing this. And there's such positive feedback, encouragement, and desire to interact too, by the way. That's the other thing. Like
Yeah.
everyone supports each other on there. And I mean, I can't tell you how many Nostr merchants I've frequented, a dozen, 15, I don't know. Um, I got one of those sampler packs
Yeah.
for
I was just going
Christmas.
to
I got
mention that. I was
multiple.
like, that was a genius
Yeah,
move by whoever did that.
so great.
Yeah.
And I got multiple of those for Christmas presents, and I've I've interviewed tons of the people on the podcast here, become I don't know if I would say friends, maybe like digital friends, and but have open great relationships with all these people. I buy their products. I mean, it's just such a different feel, and it's so cool to have an ecosystem that is actually looking at productive people and saying, I value this. I want to put my time and energy into this. I want to support it. And it really is different than anything I've ever seen before in my life.
Yeah, and I mean, it has been, mind blowing. So I find myself, like, wanting to spend more time on Nostr and, like, and you can I think there were, like, a few spam things that I've had happen, but I can just so easily
Sure,
block
sure.
them and mute them, and just, like, forget about them, going forward. So, yeah, no, I don't even know who is the Satoshi of Nostr. I don't even know who's, like, the originator, of the concept, but, what
Yeah,
well done.
Fiat Joff is considered sort of the Satoshi of Nostr. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. But okay, so along those lines, one of the things we like to talk about. Well, actually, hold on. Let's take a step back. So let's talk about where you're currently at with sort of incorporating Bitcoin into the business and how what you would like to ultimately have your company set up as a Bitcoin business as you really start to get in and make all the changes that you want to in the company.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest one to do was to just, like, I would say, have a reserve, and, a store value, that's Bitcoin based. And so, that's been, kinda like the easiest box to check because, like, I'm already a Bitcoiner. Like, I already know that's financially healthy, and is something to do. Um, Taking Bitcoin as payments has been a little bit more challenging, not because it's like not easy, but you have to find the people that are you have to get the audience. I've had to get the audience first of people that can and want to they have the Bitcoin to spend and they want to spend it. And that's been more difficult. Um, so that kind of fits into Noster of like why I was like interested in Noster because it was like this high signal to noise community, and I'm like, okay, these are my Bitcoin people. This is who I can kind of like talk about Snorkel with, and kind of like grow Snorkel into more and more kind of Bitcoin conversations. Um, and so the but I really felt like I needed something to offer them. Like I think when I was at the Bitcoin conference and I didn't have a solution on heating a hot tub with Bitcoin yet. But
Yeah.
this guy, you guys might know him, Justin McAfee. He was like, "You really need to talk to Dane Sojin from Hash Rate House." And so Dane came over. He's like a 6'8" like guy, and we just had this great conversation, and he's down in Oregon and I'm up here in Seattle, so we're relatively close. And basically just out of, I would say, curiosity, I sent him a demo tub that I wasn't going to be able to sell to anyone, and a heating system for it. And I was like, can you see if you can make this into a Bitcoin heated hot tub? Because he'd done it with other things before. He can do heated floors and that type of stuff. So anyway, he spent a month on it and was like, yeah, I'm uh uh hot tubbing in your hot tub. It's glorious. And it was an oval, and it was like really long, and he's 6'8", so he's like loved the size of it and everything, and was sent me these like hash rate stats and the mining cycles. So like once he kind of like unlocked how to basically rewire our control system, so that it kind of like, because it's a different model of heating, with a
Interesting.
Bitcoin heated hot tub, like you or sorry, with a regular hot tub, it's kind of on off. It's just on and off. And I know Tyler talked about this with you. But
Yep. Yes, he
with a
did. Yeah.
Bitcoin heated hot tub, you can basically calibrate and titrate that heat output to the temperature, and just kind of like calibrate how much hash rate you want to run through it to get the right temperature. And so Dane is down there figuring that out and figuring out the heat exchange. And that was kind of like the lights on moment of like, okay, I now I have something to like, besides just Snorkel hot tubs, right? I have something to offer of interest to the Bitcoin community, which is a Bitcoin heated hot tub. And so that was kind of the impetus when Dane was like, he's like, yeah, I think we can really do this. I was like, okay, let's see if we can create some interest, and where better to go than Noster. So that was kind of like, I don't know, it all kind of came together. And that's kind of like I would say the biggest part of the journey so far is having a Bitcoin related product. And then pick Bitcoin payments is next. I just you know 99.9% of my customers are probably not going to pay in Bitcoin for right now, but that'll change over time. So I'm just trying to like get to the point where I can do it. And even like you know, people might not want to spend their sats, but they might be more into a Bitcoin heated hot tub, then they're earning sats. So, like a Bitcoiner might be interested in buying the hot tub on fiat credit, so to speak, and then using it to mine the sats with their hot tub, and basically pay off that loan over time with the hot tub. So, like, I'm really interested in kind of like how those economics work, how many sats we earn, all that type of stuff. I got to learn, because it depends on a bunch of factors. So anyway, that's, I forget where we started, but that's kind of like,
I
yeah,
I think you're selling yourself short that you need a Bitcoin miner heated hot tub.
yeah,
Bitcoiner, like one thing I've found is that Bitcoiners, if there's a good product and
yeah,
it's something that is high quality, they desire it, that they're willing to spend their sats on it. And definitely the mining aspect of it would be super cool. That would be like a cherry on top. But I think if and when you start, excuse me, start accepting Bitcoin payments, you're gonna, excuse me, you're gonna find some Bitcoiners that want to spend their Sats on a hot tub.
Yeah, and I'll definitely be there for them. And there's something too about the wood-fired hot tub that's, like, really Bitcoin centric of, like, you
It's
know,
natural.
um, it's natural, you don't need utilities, you can be off grid, like, you can put it anywhere, so you don't it's a you could build a hut in the woods as long as you had a water source. You need a water source to make it happen, but that's really the only thing you really need, and you can put it anywhere. So no, I don't wanna only sell Bitcoin hot tubs to Bitcoiners. I just think that to me was, like, I guess, a tipping point to, like, you know, I guess, break the ice. And I guess it's not even been a year yet since I started with Snorkel. So, um, and I tried to sell hot tubs in Vegas. So I was actually desperate to sell the showroom tub to
No bites.
somebody, and I was like, basically down to like 30% off. And nobody came to Vegas to buy a hot tub, but nobody wanted it for whatever reason. So I ended up shipping it back to Seattle. Um, but I think that was like, I would say the engagement was high, and I'm pretty sure like people will eventually buy. They'll be interested eventually. And so yeah, I'll be there for them to sell not just the Bitcoin heated hot tub. I just think that's kind of like a fun thing. The other thing I'm like, I think Bitcoiners that kind of like have a lot of sats, like it would be a fun conversation piece for their friends. Like you're in a hot tub that's heated by Bitcoin. Isn't that cool? So I think there's that too.
Yeah, well, even the purchasing thing. My favorite thing is, yeah, but what can you buy with Bitcoin? And then I'm like, well, the belt I'm wearing, the painting in my living room, the cow in my freezer, the uh pecan butter I have in the fridge, and how cool would it be to be like, oh, and by the way, this hot tub we're sitting in, you know? So I I I I just I love it because it's kinda like, I'm gonna get you on this one, and then I rattle off, 12 things I bought with Bitcoin, and they're like, "Oh, really? You can do that?" I'm like, "Well, you have to do a little work to find the vendors and
Yeah,
go find places to spend it, but when you do, it's worth it because 9 times out of 10, they're making a higher quality product, and that's the other thing too is you have a high quality product, it's beautiful, and it is natural, and it's not some, plastic lined, something or other that was made from petroleum or 900 chemicals or whatever, and all that kind of stuff too. So I think there's a big overlap
yeah,
of different aspects to your product that align very well with the Bitcoin community.
yep. No,
Aside from the Bitcoin mining, that would just be, like I said, that's just the cherry on top. That's even extra cooler. Yeah,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like I said, it's gonna be a fun next year because I'll be able to like one of the things I had to do was kind of address some of the brand. I brought a hat just to show you kind of. And one thing you might
nice.
notice is that you can read Snorkel Hot Tubs, right? Because you can miss the S.
Norkel hot tubs. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
It's
so the
very
new
subtle.
logo that you'll see on snorkel.com kind of addresses that. I still like the yin yang water and fire. That has like a ton of like relevance to the brand. Um, and so, but I wanted to update the logo so that it wasn't just that was beyond hot tubs, but also that it clearly said snorkel. Because then snorkel.com is like part of it. So and then um uh the from a business, I know this is our business podcast, but like the software that ran and still runs Snorkel today is like literally a dinosaur from the 90s. It's called multi-channel order manager, called MOM. That's the acronym that they gave it. And it's you would be shocked at like how antiquated and old it is, and that's what's running it. And so one of my like first priorities was like getting trying to replace that. But it's kind of everything. It's where all the SKU structure is. It's where all the pricing is. But it doesn't have APIs, and so when I update a price on snorkel.com, I also then have to update it on InMom because they don't talk to each other. And so like, but I'm constantly running into these kind of like analog semi-digital systems, but like they don't talk to each other. So um the the thing I've been probably spending most of my time on in the first year, besides learning hot tubs and selling hot tubs, is like a new kind of whole ERP system um, called, and I ended up choosing Odoo, which is open source software,
Sure. Yep.
and basically that will basically power the new um, I guess the new order management, the new inventory management, like an entire new CRM system. So, like, because everything was basically a combination of spreadsheets and this old antiquated software. And it was like, it's unbelievable painful how many, like, I would say steps to communication we have for a single order, like how many different systems it touches. And every time it touches a new system, we're hand entering data into from one system into another. And then we're, literally handwriting a tracking number and then transposing that tracking number into an email to the customer so they can watch their shipment. Like none of that is automated. And so that's been like a big, I guess, push for me to just get modern. Because it's been like one like fun fact is that we're the hot tub time machine hot tub. So if you've seen Hot Tub Time Machine, that's our tub. And but the plot of that movie is basically getting stuck in the 80s and trying to get back to the the current day. And that's like every day how I feel is like I'm stuck in the 90s. I won't say it's the 80s, but I'm stuck in the 90s from a technology perspective and I'm trying to get into 2025 or 2026 now.
The irony is perfect. The directionally, the irony,
Yeah.
and in what you're talking about, I can't tell you back in my corporate days, as anyone that listens to this show knows I used to handle distressed businesses and troubled loans for a financial institution. And I can't tell you the number of deals that came across my desk because of a failed ERP conversion. They were like, we're going to do an ERP conversion. It's going to cost X. And it turned out it ended up costing 10X,
Yeah.
twice as long. And it's like we blew all our numbers out of the water. We're in covenant violation. We screwed everything up. We got to come up with a plan for getting some more capital into the business. And fortunately for you, just judging by the website, you don't have a ton of SKUs, but some of these businesses we
You'd be
were in,
shocked.
oh my god.
I think we
Well,
have
okay, well,
2,000 SKUs and
oh
parts.
really?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. That's true. That's a good point. All the parts. I didn't think about that. I was kind of only thinking of the finished product. But yeah, that is fair. Uh, so that's a good point. But yeah, I mean, even 2000, that is a good number. That's plenty to be a pain. But some of these businesses I was dealing
Oh
with, I
yeah.
mean, 50,000, eight thousand different types of the same resin, and it's just like, oh my gosh, just head would
No,
spin
I
at
mean
some of these things.
that
Yeah.
was probably one of my big regrets. Was not just going through the existing ERP system and just deleting SKUs. That's the first thing I should have done,
Yep.
and I did not. I basically transposed the data set into the new system, and then dealt with the redundant SKUs, and it's been more painful than it should have been. But live and learn. We're almost through. So yeah.
Well, good, good. I'm glad you're on the almost on the other side of that because that truly is hellacious. So
I'm glad I'm speaking to someone with experience because it has, yeah, it's been a big lift.
it's yeah, and someone who used to work in retail for a hot minute. I spent like half a year working at Sport Mart, if you remember that company.
I don't.
And oh my, it was a sporting goods store. Maybe it was only like Midwest.
Yeah, we had Big
I'm
5
trying
in
to.
the Northwest.
Okay, okay. So maybe it's similar to that, I guess.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, that we I got stuck on inventory duty, and we were literally there at night going through every single item on the shelves, every single item in the back, marking them down. And they told us they're just like, you're not going to go home until the next day. And sure enough, the sun rose, and I still hadn't left the building the next day. It's one of the worst experiences of my life. I'm like, I cannot do this for any sort of extended period of time.
That was
So,
formative then. That was sometimes bad
oh
experiences help push
gosh,
you in the right direction.
that was a definitely never doing retail. That's for sure. So, so along with that, you're doing some work on the website. You're potentially rolling out Bitcoin miner heated um, hot tub. What else? What's sort of your longer term vision for the company? And, is this something you kind of want to do for an extended period of time? Is this sort of like a turnaround project for you where you'll feel good if you got this company into a better spot and are able to hand it off? And then how is Bitcoin sort of framing your view of both of those things?
I mean, I guess I'm just reinvigorated. So like days are long and hard
Nice.
and frustrating, but like there's kind of no place I'd rather be. So, so I don't foresee any like change. Like I don't want to turn it around and then flip it or anything like that. So, my goal is to like I would say just make it a more efficient um business from a people and a process efficiency. Um so that we can, I would say, invest those savings into better customer experiences. I was talking to a customer today, and he was kind of giving me a hard time about the incompleteness of our installation manual. And so it was totally good feedback. And so like, but I need to make us run more efficiently so that we have the time and resources to make those types of things better. And then really like once the operational efficiency is better and there, um, I want to expand into like other categories because I think Snorkel is like got this like great brand equity. Like you wouldn't believe how much people love these tubs. And like if they grew up with one, like, when they were a kid, they get one for their kids. Um, and so, and then they send us photos and, like, you know, it's just like just great brand equity. And so, I'd love to be, like I said, not just selling hot tubs, but selling cold plunges, saunas, outdoor showers, and then, just kind of like additional things that make hot tubs, wood cedar hot tubs better. Like I'd love to have an installation network potentially, or at least a partnership of networks. Because we sell all over the country, so and internationally. So I so it just takes a freight shipment to do it, and then because it's a kit, it ships in a small package generally. And so um, I'd love to be able to offer our existing customer base kind of like new innovation, new accessories. Like the outdoor shower thing is like something we're working on. Like there's one a prototype right over there right now. So I'd like it to be kind of beyond hot tubs and be kind of a little bit broader than that. Obviously, hot tubs is our core, and that's actually the difficult thing. Like my understanding is like building a good wooden cedar hot tub is actually it's not easy. Some companies have tried and kind of abandoned it, and then they end up with like plastic in it, or aluminum in it, or whatever, or a vinyl liner. So we're always going to do our hot tubs because we have that kind of like recipe down. But I think being able to offer kind of like the sauna, and the cold plunge, and kind of like basically it's a spa resort in your backyard, basically, because like it's kind of fun to go back and forth. Like you take a cold shower, you get in the hot tub, you go you're in the sauna, you go take a cold shower, rinse off, get cold, and then you go in the hot tub. Like there's like there's all sorts of resort places that basically offer these different things. And so I'd love for
Wife and I do it
Snorkel
all
to
the time.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'd love us to have kind of like a full product array. And then probably from like a long-term perspective, like I would say somewhat conscious of cedar as a renewable resource. I would like to be, this kind of um, fits into, I would say, the Bitcoin time preference ethos, in terms of like, I would love to be kind of like planting new cedar plantings and like kind of like, um, just making sure that it is a renewable resource. These are plants, they grow, but there's like, I would just want to basically be replanting and, maybe eventually harvesting. But that's like a 50-year journey. Like it's probably going to outlast me, but that's kind of like, where my head's at long term is like making sure that it's like, this is a renewable source of kind of like, uh, product. And I'd say one of the really cool things that we do philosophically here is like get kind of the most out of every piece of cedar. When you get cedar from, a lumber mill, not every piece is perfect. And yeah, you could, you know, um, I would say you could have a high scrap rate, but we really try to, use every piece. So, for something. So that's kind of like why I was like, why don't we do an outdoor shower? Because we can use, they're smaller pieces of wood. They don't have to
Yeah.
hold water. There's other uses for that cedar that, we can use. And usually, like we're building our benches that go in the hot tubs for them. So well, our scrap rate is really low. Of like wood that leaves the building. And in fact, like people like we have a bit of a following for our scrap as it is. So artists come pick it up to make stuff out of wood or create a canvas for painting
That's
stuff. Like so, it's kind of like a cool like, I don't know, ecosystem that's been built up around Snorkel.
that's awesome. Any chefs come and get some to cook fish on or anything?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
one of our byproducts is cedar planks. So we
Nice.
we we collect them. We don't produce enough of them to really sell them reliably. So,
Yeah.
but we have them. I'd be happy to send you a few.
I think I would I would hit you up on that. I think I would
Okay.
like one of those. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We'll talk off air
Okay.
and figure that out. Awesome. And um so one of the other things too is as you have something like this, as you have a high quality product like this, and something that, to your point, it's other people want to cheat, they want to cut the wood, they want to cut corners here and there, not do it properly. Is does and maybe I'm wrong. Don't let me put words in your mouth, but does having Bitcoin as your store of value, as your treasury asset, does that allow you to focus more in the future and know that you can continue with the quality, continue making higher quality products, knowing that you won't have to cut corners because your balance sheet is actually going to hold and most likely increase in value into the future, and you're not constantly chasing this sort of fiat margin erosion that so many businesses are struggling with.
mean, that's certainly what I'm hoping. I've had to basically go through, a lot of capital expense, like your ERP examples, like, it's like, so, the reserve needs to be kind of like built back up, I guess. But like it should like put me in a much better position. Like I think the whole concept of like, um, even leverage. Like if you need additional capital and you need to take a loan, and if you have that Bitcoin reserve, you can basically capitalize that on that asset, for your loan needs and kind of like get additional reserves without, with the reserve as the foundation. So, obviously, I need to build the reserve up, and then just kind of keep stacking, over the years. So that's um, and it's a cash flow positive business. There's no reason I can't like stack, especially going in, year two. Year one was all about kind of like, I would say, revitalizing the brand, ripping out the old ERP, putting in a new one, redoing the branding, updating the website, that type of stuff. So, year two will be much more about like stacking and, building up a reserve, and then, like I said, taking payments. And that's actually a shout out to the Sovereign as well in terms of the consulting arm for you guys to help businesses like Snorkel, um, you know, make that transformation. So, because I would say I'm just not. I have it's a non-zero probability of screwing something up, and it's probably more like 10%. So, and that I would I guess rely on experts that understand Bitcoin and can reliably do it. And you guys have like a great reputation, so I'm I've kind of like set up plans to engage in that in the next couple months.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we want to do. The worst thing, the most painful thing is to see good Bitcoiners get lost along the way or not have the full technical expertise, try to do it themselves and screw things up. And
Yeah,
that's yeah, we that makes us happy, especially good businesses that are out there just like you coming in, entrepreneurs that are profitable businesses that are taking their time and energy, storing it into better money. I mean, that's exactly the type of customer that we want to be out there helping. So,
yeah, and I will say too, like navigating the world of crypto, um, to like find the real Bitcoiners that focus on Bitcoin specifically. That um, that's like a top priority for me. Like I don't, like I
it's
said,
hard.
it there's so much VC money that went into crypto, that's like,
Web
it,
3.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's just hard to like avoid it. And so I would be interested. I am interested in, I would say, companies that are Bitcoin only companies. That's all I am ever going to be, from a Snorkel standpoint. There will never be, a non crypto, or non Bitcoin crypto. I even hate the word crypto. It's so dumb.
I do too.
So
Yeah. Yeah, well, well, the worst part about it is the origins of it were cryptography, which was great, and then Bitcoin was, a cryptocurrency, and then it just got so perverted and
yeah,
destroyed. It makes me even more angry that the
yeah,
word sucks now
yeah.
because it was a great word that
Yes,
has been destroyed, and it
yes,
like doubles my anger about it.
yes.
So
Me
yeah,
too. Me
how
too.
how many employees do you have, by the way?
Right now we're like six, six of us,
6 employees.
including
Okay,
me.
nice,
So we're pretty
nice.
small. Just like,
Yeah,
yeah, and they're I would say, I don't know if the employees are gonna listen to this podcast or not, but I'll say like, there's employees that they're of like near retirement age. Um, and so one of the business challenges that I'm thinking about is like, how do I hire people to pick up their skill set and their domain? And I need to grow the business enough to basically fund those headcounts so that then the more senior and older employees have those younger employees to teach and learn so that when they do want to retire, for whatever reason, I don't want them any of them to retire, but that I'm kind of like not left with a giant hole of somebody, the one person that knows how to do everything, because right now Snorkel's of a size where kind of like, you know one person does one, like one has one domain and there's not really much redundancy. And that doesn't feel very that's not very stable in my mind. So I need to basically grow Snorkel to fund the headcount to have that redundancy. And there's a whole bunch of other benefits that come with that. But one of the things I think about all the time is like, you know, what if, X person retires? You know, because they're of that age. Like I don't know what their financial standing is. I don't know how close they are to that number, where they're gonna be like, "It's been real. I'm done." But I don't want that moment to happen before I can grow Snorkel enough to have somebody that's kind of picked up their skill set.
and what are those jobs slash skill sets? Because if you want to put them on here and you're listening to this podcast and you fit any of these descriptions, please reach out to Michael.
Yeah,
You might be a good replacement for him.
sure. Yeah. So woodwork is obviously the core. So there's basically a defined process of, I would say, 3 to 4 core woodworking operations. I don't know if you knew woodworking, but there's like, um, in woodworking to be efficient, you need kind of like jigs, and jigs are all about reputation. It's a template, and the template lets you go fast but accurate. And so, there's jigs everywhere around me right now of like this jig is for this size tub with this size height, and so like woodworking, I would say, is the a big one. And it basically starts with simple cuts. I wish I could like walk around and give you a tour, but
One day.
basically, proceeds to building the tub bottom, which is what's right behind me here. That's kind of glued up and ready to be turned into a tub bottom, and um, and then basically then that I guess shipping and receiving is another area. But the shipping guy, he actually builds like plumbing. Like he basically creates the control system and the plumbing and attaches the filter and wires the pump and wires the sets it up so that it's easier for the customer. So they're not getting like a big pile of parts that they have to put together. So like we're basically doing that. And so that's, a more a technical job of some sort. Involves basically plumbing, layout, drilling, wiring, that type of stuff. And then we basically have a sales office, and our sales office is our support office. So if you're selling hot tubs, you're supporting the sale. So, which I've always liked. I used to be in consulting, and I always hated the model where you sell something and then you walk away and go do your sale, and then the fulfillment team basically
Yep.
has to like
Yep.
figure out how to do that. So at Snorkel, when you're selling hot tubs, you're basically then supporting, because our phone number is basically the same phone number no matter what. So when people call in, we don't know if they're going to be having problems that they need help with, or they need to they want to buy a tub.
They want to
Like
buy something.
we
Yeah.
just answer the phone. And so so we have basically three, including me, that are sales and support um, people, and then I would say a newer employee that's helping with the ERP transition. So he's basically, young computer science grad that's basically, um, you know, migrating data, setting up automated business processes, that type of stuff. So the stuff to add would be kind of like shipping, receiving, um, s- um, and woodworking, and then sales and support. So those are the three areas.
If you fit any of those three areas and you're listening to
Yeah.
this and want to go work for a company that believes in Bitcoin and utilizes Bitcoin and makes a sweet product that's of high quality, reach out to Michael. And
Yeah.
when we wrap, we'll tell them where to go.
uh,
Snorkel.com is the website. That's
Yeah.
probably the best place to go, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Hit the
And
contact button at the top.
I'll say too, like, none of the employees I inherited are Bitcoiners, So when I took the tub to Vegas, they were like, "What are you doing?" So, but
Crazy man.
then when I'm like, figuring out Bitcoin payments and Bitcoin heated hot tubs, then they're like slowly like, oh, this is a thing that, is not just was not a one-time thing. And so hopefully eventually I can basically, like Steak and Shake just did this like basically Bitcoin bonus per hour. Like I
Yep.
would love to be making that part of the Snorkel compensation package. Eventually I like to figure that out. And keep working on employees so they understand Bitcoin more thoroughly. So yeah.
I guarantee your first sale in Bitcoin of one of these hot tubs, you're gonna blow all your employees' minds. You're gonna go, look at how easy this was. Here's the Bitcoin. We're sending out the hot tub. Things will click for them.
Well, I bought a heat bit. I deferred my purchase, but I bought a heat pit for the office, and one of the excuse me, as soon as it gets here, I'm gonna basically try and set it up so we're mining solo, and then hopefully we hit a block, and then basically make that an office pool, so to speak. Because we like one of the mind blowing things about Bitcoin heat is, and I know this is not my specialty, but just like heating the building, heating hot tubs. Our wood supplier must spend like 300 grand a year in propane to heat to dry their wood. Like
Jeez.
the ability to kind of like leverage mining for heat. Like I'm going to the heat pump conference at the end of February.
Nice,
So I'm
nice.
really excited to make connections there. So yeah, but I just think that's like you said, that is the future. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of by when and by who.
Exactly. Who's going to do it and when is it going to be done? Those are
Yeah,
the only open questions.
yeah.
So, all right, Michael. Well, anything else you want to get to before we wrap up here? I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we covered it. So, yeah, find us on Noster, snorkel.com. My name's Michael. If you're ever in Seattle, just shoot me an email, michael at snorkel.com, and I'll give you a tour. So, kind of excited to see where this goes. And if you do want a Bitcoin heated hot tub, let us know because we're at least we have a wait list building on the bullish Bitcoiners take my sat site. So you can
Oh, yeah.
find that on Noster. I think I posted the link on our profile page.
Yeah. So, yeah, check out, and just so people know, the Nasser profile is just the name Snorkel.
Yep, at Snorkel. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yep, yeah, at Snorkel, and the website snorkel.com. So go check them out. As always, the Bitcoin Business Podcast. Follow us, like, subscribe, all that stuff that tricks the algorithm. And then we're on X, LinkedIn, uh Instagram. We're on that now, and I'm on Nostr at Plebeianon, and also Sovereign is on Nostr as well. I've weaponized a few of our people, one of our new employees, or new salespeople, and a couple marketing people to have access to the Sovereign Nostr account as well. So if you've noted much better content coming out of there and better responsiveness, that's why, because actual people that know what they are doing are doing that now.
Awesome.
Uh, so hopefully much better stuff coming out of that account as well going forward. And we love promoting all the businesses that are on Nostr, that are selling on there. That's how I found Michael. That's how I found Snorkel. And so I hope to keep finding places like this, every day, every week going forward, and just seeing more and more and growing that community as well. So thank you so much for your time today, Michael. And until next time.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Brandon.